Hey friends, Elizabeth here from Plant-Based Bride, and I'm back again with another coffee talk video. Today I thought it would be fun to just hang out, chill, and chat all about Halloween, because even though Halloween is over, I'm not quite ready to let it go. So if you follow me on Instagram, you will have already seen my costume from this year. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I highly recommend it. The link will be in the description box. This is what my feed looks like. If you do follow me on Instagram, you will have seen that I posted our Halloween costume from this year, which was a Star Trek Halloween costume. Since we've had the cats, we have done full family costumes every single year because I am a huge Halloween fan. I feel like to even talk about this year's Halloween and Halloween in general, I have to just go back in time and tell you a little bit about my history with Halloween and why I love it so much. So let's do that. So first things first, I am a very dramatic person and I enjoy attention. Probably the reason why I went to theater school. But I've always been this way. I've always been an introvert and very shy on one hand, but on the other hand, I have always been goofy and dramatic and loved being the center of attention and loved making a statement and standing out and all of that stuff. So it's a fun dichotomy that I get to play with on a day-to-day basis. Anyways, as a child, I feel like I was even more so like this. I think just the innocence of childhood and you're not quite so self-conscious about being over the top and just being who you are unabashedly. So as a kid, I was even more dramatic, even more over the top, and I literally spent almost every single evening that I wasn't at dance class dressing up in my grandparents' and great aunts' old dresses and shoes and hats and scarves and doing little photo shoots and doing fashion shows and strutting around my house. And I was also a very creative child. We had an art table on the main floor of our house, and my sister and I have an older sister, used to sit at the table for hours and make clay models and paint and make those clingy window things that were supposed to leave no residue, but when you took them off after a year, your window would be permanently stained with the color of the window cling thing. All of those things we love to play with. So the idea of Halloween as a holiday where I could dress up really over the top and be super dramatic and play a character and also at the same time be creative and create a costume and be artistic, that was the epitome of a good time to me as a child. I think it was extra special because growing up, both of my parents worked and they both worked quite a bit. So growing up, we didn't necessarily have a huge amount of one-on-one time or sort of quality time with our parents because they were working professionals and they didn't have a huge amount of free time. So Halloween was always special because not only on the night of Halloween would we get to go trick-or-treating, and usually at least one of our parents would go out with us and the other one would stay home and give out candy, but leading up to Halloween, my mom, who learned how to sew from her mom and then taught me, would make our costumes for us. So a couple months before Halloween, usually in the summer, my sister and I and our mom would go to Fabricland and we would flip through those pattern books, the kids ones, through the Halloween costumes, and sometimes just through sort of the regular section to find the perfect pattern for whatever costume we had in our mind. And we'd buy the pattern and then we'd go around Fabricland and find the perfect fabric and all the little notions, the thread, zippers, buttons, all that stuff. And then our mom would make our costumes over the next couple months in whatever free time she had leading up to Halloween. And that was always a really fun sort of bonding experience for us. And my sister and I would usually have at least one part of our costume that we would want to make ourselves. So we would sit at our art table for hours after school and make some accessory for our costume. I really vividly remember dressing up as Cleopatra one year, and I hand paper mache'd a crown that had, you know, the snake on the front of it, and I painted it in gold and painted the eyes and everything and got super into it. So anyway, I loved Halloween as a kid. It also was the first time I got to live my life dream of being a princess. My favorite princess is Belle from Beauty and the Beast, and I dressed up as Belle for 3 years in a row. First year I was Belle in her ball gown, second year I was Belle in her blue peasant gown, and the third year I was Belle in her most underrated yet best outfit, which is the pink dress she wears in the library. Chef's kiss. As I grew older, now I'm giving you a whole timeline of my life with Halloween. I hope this is what you wanted when you clicked on this video because it's what you're getting. Growing up, I continued to love Halloween. As a teenager, it was really fun to come up with group friend costumes and to go out trick-or-treating, even though we were sort of on the edge of parents judging us and not wanting to give us candy anymore. And then getting a little older, going to college, and because I went to theater school, being surrounded by people who still really loved the idea of over-the-top costumes and group costumes, just never lost the love of Halloween. It was always a great time. Once I got to college age and when I graduated, I started having multiple Halloween costumes a year. My friends and I would probably go out to 2 or 3 Halloween parties around the time of Halloween, so I would definitely have to have 2 to 3 amazing costumes that I would work on for months leading up to the holiday. But one thing that I was missing from my Halloween repertoire that I'd always wanted was a significant other to do couples costumes with. Because I was a bit of a late bloomer. This is a completely different video, but I didn't have a lot of relationships before I met my husband. He has really been my first and only serious relationship, I would say. And even though I had a few boyfriends before him, none of them actually lasted to Halloween. So before my husband, I had never had a significant other on Halloween, so I'd never been able to feel the joy that is a perfectly orchestrated couples costume. So the year that my husband and I got together, we'd been dating for about a month and a half by the time Halloween came around, and I didn't want to scare him with how over-the-top excited I get for Halloween, but I let him know that I was going to be Jessica Rabbit for Halloween, and it would mean a lot to me if he would put a little bit of effort in and be Roger Rabbit so we could have a little couples costume. And I was living in a residence at the time. I was working for Disney Cruise Line, so we all lived in the same residence during rehearsals. And we had a big Halloween party in our residence and kind of went from room to room for all the different cast members who were staying in the same building. And I worked really hard on my Jessica Rabbit costume and was really proud of how it looked. I felt really sexy, and on top of it, I was really excited for my new boyfriend to come and see me and be in his costume and for us to be a cute little bunny pair. And turns out he hadn't had time to get anything for a costume, and he showed up to the party after work in his work clothes, which were show blacks. So he had on black jeans and a black t-shirt. And let me tell you, my heart was a little bit broken because I was so excited to finally have a couple's costume, and I didn't get that. The next year, I knew that I had to take the couple's costume planning into my own hands, otherwise it would not happen. So I had the brilliant, never before seen idea to do Carmen Sandiego and Where's Waldo? I know, so unique. And this year I just took the reins and did everything myself, and that's kind of how it's been ever since. I think he likes it better that way. Jason is a great sport. He will participate with me, he'll take awesome pictures with me, and he enjoys it, but he's just not one to spend, you know, a couple weeks leading up to Halloween working on his costume, whereas I love crafting and working on stuff like that, so it's right up my alley. This was our costume. I thought we looked pretty cute. We went to a friend's Halloween party, and it was great. I think that was the last time we actually went out for Halloween, was that year. So we've fully evolved into our final form of the introvert hermit couple. So shortly after that Halloween, we adopted our cats. We got them in November of that year. So the next Halloween was the first time we had our cats for Halloween, and we were really excited to incorporate them into our Halloween costume. And since we named the cats Chewie and Yoda after the Star Wars characters because we're big sci-fi fans, we decided it would be fun to do a costume from Star Wars. And I don't remember whose idea it was. I assume it was mine because it's the kind of thing that I find incredibly hilarious, and everyone else is like, haha, yeah. I thought it would be great to have Chewie dressed up as Yoda and then to have Yoda dressed up as Chewbacca because they were like dressed up as each other. I thought that was adorable. So I made a little costume for Yoda so that she could be Chewbacca. I made her basically a little cape out of faux fur, and then the sort of sash thing that Chewbacca wears. And then I bought a toddler's Yoda costume for Chewie to wear, and then just took it in a little bit so it fit him a little bit better. It was still really big on him, and it was adorable watching him walk around because the arms were really long and they would just kind of flip around and he'd waddle, but he loved it. Like, he didn't want us to take it off him. He was so cozy. I'm getting distracted. Anyway, and then I dressed up as Princess Leia, and my husband Jason dressed up as Han Solo, and this was our first full family Halloween costume, and it was epic, and I love that. I look back on those pictures and I'm just like, damn, yes, we did that. That year we got all done up in our costumes and set up a little photo shoot in our living room, and then took all our costumes off and watched a movie and went to bed. So that's basically been our MO for the last couple of years. We do a little photo shoot to commemorate our costume, but we don't actually leave the house in our costumes because gotta live that introvert life, am I right? At some point during that year, we started getting into Star Trek. I don't remember why we even started watching in the first place, but we decided to watch the original series all the way through because neither of us had seen all of the original series of Star Trek. And that led us on a journey of watching all of the Star Trek that has ever existed and becoming serious Trekkies. So congrats to us for starting that journey. I have no idea why it started, but I'm grateful it did because Star Trek is amazing and I love it. Anyway, so the next year we decided to be original series characters. So I was Uhura, my favorite character from the original series. Badass bitch who's on the bridge with all those men, doing her thing, kicking ass. Love Uhura. And Jason couldn't decide if he wanted to be Spock or Kirk, so we kind of did a combination. He was mostly Spock, but I gave him the command track communication pin that Captain Kirk wears so that he could kind of be both at the same time. And our cats were mini versions of us, so Yoda was a mini Uhura and Chewie was a mini Spock Kirk. I don't know what this is. Amalgamation? Mind meld? I'm gonna stop doing that now. Some of the pieces of our costumes I bought and some of them I made. The cats' costumes, I bought little vests for them and then I made everything else. My costume I bought, and Jason's costume, I think I made Jason's costume. Yeah, I bought Jason a shirt and then I glued everything on. The trim along the sleeves, all that stuff. I think I couldn't find a good costume for the original series that was accurate to the actual original series at the time, so I kind of DIY'd it. Then we decided that it would be fun if we each year did a costume from the next series of Star Trek. So that year we did the original series, then the next year we did Next Generation, and then the next year, which is this year, we did Deep Space Nine. So the next year we did Next Gen, and he was Riker and I was Deanna Troi, and then we made the cats into Data and Geordi. If you're not familiar with Star Trek, or specifically Next Generation, Riker and Troi sort of have a thing. They've had a past relationship and then they sort of always imply that they're going to end up together. So we thought that that was a cute couple's costume for us to do. And I believe I bought his costume, but then I made the cat's costumes and I also made my costume. I bought a unitard and then I cut the neckline and added the trim and made my communicator and all that. Bought a wig and styled it. And that was the first year I had the idea to spend an unnecessary, ungodly amount of time photoshopping us onto a background from the show so it would look more legit, and it was epic and I love those pictures so much, even though they took an excessive amount of time to do. And all of that brings us to this year, a couple days ago, when we dressed up as Deep Space Nine characters. Deep Space Nine is by far both of our favorite Star Trek series. If you haven't seen Deep Space Nine, what are you waiting for? Go watch it right now. It is amazing. Such great writing. It's serialized, so you sort of have to watch all the way through. You can't kind of jump in and out of episodes. But the character development is incredible. The relationships between the characters, the writing is just amazing. The types of issues that they really get deep into and explore are so much darker and more gritty than a lot of other Star Trek series at the time. It's an amazing show. Anyway, so I dressed up as my favorite character from Deep Space Nine, who is Jadzia Dax. She is a Trill, which means the humanoid person on the outside is a host to a symbiont, which is like a little worm parasite thing that lives inside her, and they have a very symbiotic relationship and sort of blend their personalities together to create this whole person. So Jadzia is the host and Dax is the symbiont, so she is Jadzia Dax, and she also has the memories of all the past hosts that Dax has lived in. And so she, as a young woman, has the knowledge and wisdom gained over, I think it's 6 lifetimes. So she has a really interesting character, and she's a scientist, and she acts as sort of a mentor and mentee to the captain of the station. She's amazing. She's very independent. She's snarky and funny and true to herself, and I just love her so much. I had to buy my costume. I really wanted to make all of our costumes from scratch this year because my parents got me a sewing machine, but my sister got married earlier in October, and I made my dress that I wore in her wedding as her matron of honor. So I didn't really have time to get started on Halloween costumes until after her wedding, and that just really wasn't enough time. It was like 2 weeks maybe. So next year I'm gonna try to make her costumes from scratch. Fingers crossed that I'll be able to pull it off. So this year I just bought my costume, and it was actually pretty well made considering. I was impressed. And then I bought a wig to wear as well because her hair is a dark brown, almost black, and the wig just could not be styled to look good in any way whatsoever. I should have known better than to buy a wig online, and it just didn't work. So what I ended up doing is just use my own hair and then photoshopped the color. I thought about buying a hair color spray, but I was worried that it wouldn't come out of my hair and that I would damage my hair trying to get it out. It just made me a bit nervous. So I just photoshopped it. I also photoshopped my eye color to be blue because most contacts are tested on animals, which doesn't fit into my practice of not consuming things that are tested on animals. And it's one thing if I needed contacts for medical reasons to actually see, but I don't need contacts. So buying colored contacts for a costume that have been tested on animals just doesn't sit right with me at all. So I just changed the color of my eyes. Other than changing the color of my hair and my eyes, nothing on me is photoshopped. I drew all of the spots myself with a brown eyeliner pencil, and it took forever. I also did my makeup in a way to try to imitate Jadzia's features, though our face shapes are very different, so it was difficult, but I think it turned out pretty well. I bought Jason's costume, and he was Dr. Bashir. We thought it was a cute couple's costume because Bashir has a serious crush on Jadzia through the entire series. He's always chasing after her, and it's kind of always a will they, won't they thing until, skip forward if you don't want spoilers, but near the end, she gets married to someone else, and he kind of deals with this heartbreak of that unrequited love because he still is kind of in love with her, but she's in love with someone else. And then something happens and he finds love, and it's all great. But Jason looks a little bit like Bashir in certain lights, so we also thought it was good for that. And then for the cats, we thought it'd be really cute for Yoda to be Kira Nerys because she and Jadzia are best friends. So I made Yoda into a little Kira Nerys. I photoshopped the earring on her because there was no way we could have made that work in a real practical way. And then we made Chewie into Chief O'Brien because O'Brien and Bashir have this epic bromance going on. That's one of the best parts of the show, I think, is their friendship is so deep and real and comes off as very genuine and sweet to see, you know, 2 straight men who are in serious professions, but they have such a sweet, genuine, almost childlike friendship, and they play together and they enjoy each other's company, and they're open about how much they mean to each other, and it's just really awesome to see. Anyway, getting off topic. So Chewie we made into O'Brien, and then in our picture we're holding our respective best friends. I also did this photo, a group photo that I photoshopped us into, and I spent way too much time on it considering the fact that the original photo was such low quality to start with. It was so low res that there's no way it's gonna look nice because I'm starting with a crappy file in the first place, but I really thought it would look amazing for us to be in that photo, and I still love it even though it is grainy as hell. And just as we have in the past few years, we got all dressed up and took some photos and then hung out on the couch in our costumes for a couple hours eating pizza and watching Star Trek, and then we went to sleep. very exciting stuff. This is what you have to look forward to when you get married. It's really great. I'm not being sarcastic, it's actually really great. I'm glad I don't have to go out to parties anymore to try to meet people because parties are stressful and I don't enjoy them. So yeah. So that was my rambly recap of every Halloween I've ever had in my entire life in great detail. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I want to know in the comments, let me know your favorite Halloween costume you've ever done, what you were for Halloween this year, what you like best about Halloween, if you do like and celebrate Halloween. And I would also love to know if there were no barriers to making the most epic costume, if you had all the resources in the world, what would you want to be for Halloween? What amazing epic costume would you want to pull off? Yeah, so let me know in the comments. Let's discuss Halloween. Let's keep it alive for another few days before we let it die and move on to the Christmas hype. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in this video, and I will see you very soon in the next one. Bye, friends. Big thank you to my patrons for your support. Extra special thank you to our newest patron, Christina. Welcome to the squad. If you're interested in joining the squad, check out the link in the description box or in the card.